Hi guys, welcome back to Bar Talk with Ola. This is Mujela Olua and I'm super thrilled to be here once again. The first time you saw this outfit on the channel, I was here to talk about dissolution of customary marriages in Nigeria on the request of a viewer. But today, I'm here back again to talk about celebration of customary marriages in Nigeria. So we've talked about how to end it. Today we want to talk about how to start it. And if you notice, we are doing a series, so to speak, on marriages in Nigeria. We've done a video, the first video on statutory marriages in Nigeria. Please watch that video if you haven't seen it. All of this will be in the playlist titled Marriage and Allied Matters, or Matrimonial Causes and Allied Matters, whichever one. Just look for it on the channel under the playlist section and watch all these videos. We've talked about a lot of things related to marriage on this channel. We've talked about dissolution of statutory marriage, dissolution of customary marriage. We've talked about bigamy. We've talked about double-decker marriage. We've talked about validity, of marriage, where we talked about, the prohibited degrees of consanguinity and affinity, and a host of other things and other videos that we've done relating to marriages. Today, we want to talk about customary marriages, how to begin, how to establish, how to start, how to celebrate customary marriage in Nigeria. Don't forget that if you need a one-on-one consultation, you can book one using the link in the description box, or shoot a mail to houseoflivingstones@gmail.com to start a discussion, a conversation on how to book a slot and speak to a lawyer directly, namely me. So customary marriages or customary law marriages are recognized in Nigeria as legal in their own right. So when we did statutory marriage, we talked about two types of marriages that we have in Nigeria: the customary law marriage and the statutory marriage. And I said, and I'm saying again, that under customary law marriage or customary marriages, we have marriages according to the laws and customs of a particular location or area, and then Islamic marriage or Islamic law marriage. So we'll talk about those two, but in this particular video we'll talk about customary law marriage celebrated under the customs and traditions of a particular area. In another video we'll talk about Islamic marriage or Islamic law marriage, that's the nikah. There are various ethnic groups in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, there are over 200 ethnic groups in Nigeria, and each of them have their own way of celebrating marriage. That is what is known as customary marriage. Marriage celebrated according to the customs and traditions, most especially, not law now, of a particular locality or a particular area. Now, because we are an heterogeneous society, as a country, as a nation, as a state, we cannot celebrate marriage the same way according to native law and custom, but there are some features that have been generally agreed over time as being preeminent across cultures, and those are the most preeminent features that one must look out for in the celebration of customary marriage. We'll talk about these features. So there may be slight differences from ethnic group to ethnic group or from locality to locality, but essentially some of these things are found across cultures. And when a matter is brought to court, the court will usually give regard to these preeminent features in determining the validity of a customary marriage. The first thing is intention. But before we talk about intention, you must know that customary marriage is not just a celebration between the man and the wife. It is actually a celebration between the families coming together. Also, it is polygamous in nature. So unlike statutory law marriage, which is monogamous in nature. Also, you should know that if someone is married under native law and custom, they can marry as many spouses as possible, as the native law and custom may dictate or permit. But if they want to marry under the statutory system, that is under the act, they must marry the same person that they are married to customarily. If they want to marry a different person under the statutory system or under the act, they must first dissolve the customary marriage to give effect and validity to the statutory marriage. Essentially, the statutory system, the Marriage Act, if you check section 30 or check from 26 to 30, it says something about parties getting married statutorily not being married to any other person at the time of celebrating the statutory marriage, and after the celebration not being able to marry another party during the lifetime of either party of that marriage. If they do so, then bigamy comes into play. Please watch the video we did on bigamy, section 10 of the criminal code, and of course can also be found in the laws of each state. So having said that, intention means an expression of interest in a person that is found to be marriageable. It may not necessarily be by age. In customary law marriages, age is not really a factor because the acceptable age of marriage differs from country, from locality to locality, from community to community. So age may not really be a factor, but it's important for parties or anyone being prospected for marriage to be of an age of maturity, to understand what they're getting into. But the Marriage Act prohibits child marriages. So if anyone wants to take shield under the Marriage Act, against the permitted age, lower age in any locality or community, they can do that. But generally, there's no agreed age for customary marriages. So intention means that a family or a person has seen someone marriageable in another family, and so they begin to prospect. So they express their intention to that family. That is the beginning of a customary marriage in Nigeria. Expression of interest. Oh, we have seen someone marriageable in your family. Then they begin to ask some questions. They begin to get their acts together to, make physical visits and whatnot. So intention is the beginning of customary marriage in Nigeria. Essentially, a family sees a marriageable person in another family, and then they communicate their interest to that family according to the rights and the usages and the patterns that is agreed upon generally in that locality, or that is the tradition. So after they have communicated their intention, they begin to make discrete discoveries, findings, and investigations to find out what kind of family are they. Are they good people? Do they have any generational diseases? Are they poor or wealthy? Do they owe any debts? Are they good people in their locality? Are they personable people? All sorts of inquiries to ascertain that, where our daughter is going, where our son is marrying from, is a great place to get into. So they begin to make findings. So intention starts customary marriage. After the intention has been expressed from one family to the other, usually from the husband's family to the wife's family, because most societies in Nigeria are patriarchal in nature. So the father's side, the man's side expresses an interest to marry from the woman's side, and then they make their findings. Once they find the family acceptable, remember, not just the person to be married, but the entire family. After the intention has been communicated and findings have been made, and one family has found the other family acceptable and marriageable, not just the person but the entire family, the next step is the betrothal step. Betrothal is fast becoming outdated in Nigeria, but it is the next step after intention, in customary marriage. So essentially, what happens during betrothal is what is now known as engagement. So the husband's family, usually, let's use the Yoruba culture for instance as an example, visits the wife's family. They visit them with gifts, for the family members, for the bride to be, and then they officially state their reason for coming. Oh, we have seen a flower in your garden that I want to pluck. We have seen, you know, a beauty to behold in your palace, and we would love to have in our own palace. So, you know, things like that, you know. So that's what is called engagement. So usually the engagement party nowadays is an excessive affair. It's almost like wedding one in most across most Yoruba societies, and indeed across many societies in Nigeria now. And some people add, you know, a lot of glitz and glamour to theirs, you know, to make it more glamorous, expensive, and whatnot. Essentially, what happens at the betrothal stage is the engagement. That is, you know, one party engaging the other party to be fully married. So after they've brought gifts, they've stated their interest. The family they have come to meet, the bride's family in the example we are using, will then express their acceptance, you know, of their proposal to marry their daughter. And then usually the bride and they would usher in the daughter to give a consent, because consent is another important feature of customary marriages. So once the family has given their consent, the bride will be ushered in to give her own consent. So when she identifies the groom's family and agrees that she knows them and that she's happy to go with them, that is what is called consent. Consent is another feature, very important. The family must consent. The parties must also consent. The court has held in a plethora of cases. If you look at Okpanom and Okpanom, if you look at Osamoyi and Osamoyi, the court held that consent is very crucial and very fundamental in customary marriages. The family must consent and the parties must consent. There must be mutual agreement. So once they agree, that stage has been crossed, and then the wedding or the marriage celebration continues. After consent, the next step is the bride price. Bride price is like the consideration, you know, given in the marriage contract. So if you view marriage as a contract, you know that for every valid contract there must be consideration for value. But it is not that kind of consideration, in the sense that the husband's family, from the Yoruba culture that we're using as an example, does not actually pay the value of the girl in question or the bride to be. No, they just pay a token as a symbolism of the value attached to the girl, and so that they don't just come and take the girl. As a matter of fact, in most instances where a man does not pay bride price before getting together with the lady, the man is regarded as a thief and a robber, you know, and interloper. So bride price is very key in customary marriage. It must be paid as a form of symbolic consideration. And of course, there's the bride's the list that is given to the family ahead of time, which are a list of things they must bring, you know, to show that they are fully in business, not business per se, but that they are fully ready to take care and capable of taking care of the wife that they have come to marry. So these things are mere symbols. It does not equate the value of the wife to be taken, and it does not signify a sale of the girl or the bride in question, but it's an essential feature. And that's why if you look at the video we did on customary marriage dissolution, we talked about the return of the bride price as the finality, you know, the one that brings an end to a customary law marriage, even without recourse to the court of law. Once the bride price is returned, the marriage is deemed ended, you know, determined, dissolved. So bride price is very symbolic and very important. It is an essential feature. It cannot be overlooked, and it cannot, you know, be wished away in a customary marriage. After the bride price has been paid, usually it's already brought to the venue. The bride price and the bride list items, they're already brought to the venue, you know, of the betrothal or the engagement. And so after it's been handed over to the bride's family in the Yoruba culture's instance, then we have what is called handing over of the bride. or solemnization and handing over. So essentially, the bride's father gives her hand in marriage to her husband and her husband's family, and there are some rites to be performed according to each culture. It could be the breaking of kola and blessing of the couple, you know, with some items in the bride's list, items brought. It could be kola nut, honey, you know, and any other thing, you know, just to symbolize the good and great things that are expected or wished for in the marriage. So after the blessing and the joining, that's the handing over, the couple are deemed married under customary law. And then the next thing is consummation of the marriage, which is the final lap, you know, in the celebration of a customary law marriage. It's important. Consummation is very important. And then we say that they are man and wife validly under customary law. Like I said, it is a valid marriage. It is legal, recognized by law as a valid marriage. And that is why if someone were to go under the statutory system to marry a different person, it will be invalid while the customary laws marriage subsists. But since most customs are polygamous in nature, a person married under customary law may marry as many persons as they may wish to marry. So that is the position of law regarding customary marriage. We've talked about customary marriage in this video and how it is validly celebrated and comes into existence. Essentially, an intention is shown by one family to marry into or from another family, and then findings are made afterwards. There's a betrothal ceremony, which is the engagement, where the husband's family will bring some items and pay the bride price to the wife's family, and then the couple are blessed and joined, solemnized, you know, in holy matrimony or in customary matrimony, and then they consummate the marriage. There's handing over, also a very essential feature. So that's all I have for you in this video. That's essentially what customary marriage is or looks like in Nigeria. Maybe slightly different based on the locality involved, but those are the most important and essential features. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. I will see you in my very next video. Bring a friend along to Bar Talk with Ola. Toodles.